Welcome back for another episode of Gar Intuitive. It's so good to have you here today, and I am speaking with Les Velez. He is a graduate of the University of Vermont with a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration, as well as Army veteran and former VP of Luscombe Engineering. In 1991, Les joined MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, and has held the following positions: Field Investigator, Training Coordinator for Field Investigators, the Assistant State Director in Northern California, Chairman of the A.E.R.C, Abduction Experiencer Research Committee, the Team Leader of A.R.T, Abduction Response Team, predecessor to MUFON's A.R.T, Experiencer Resource Team, and presently holds the position of Research Consultant for the A.R.T. In 1994, Velez co-founded OPUS, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support. You can find his website at www.opusnetwork.org. You can also support Les and purchase his book, The Unknown Other, and the Existential Proposition of Alien Contact on Amazon. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for agreeing to come and talk with me. I'm really excited to talk to you about what you do. And I did have a really good look at your website. And you are co-founder of OPUS.
Yes.
And that is an organization for paranormal and understanding and support.
Correct.
Now, when I dove into your website, oh my goodness, I wish I'd known about this, because having said that, you guys have been around since 1994, I believe.
Right, that's correct.
But gosh, I wish there had been this available for myself, that I'd known about it during my sort of, 10, 15 years ago, when I really, really needed that sort of guidance and support. So I was really blown away to see such a fantastic support network that you've built there, and with some really, really awesome people involved.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And it is unfortunate that people like yourself often don't know where to turn to get the kind of assistance. Most cases, experiencers are afraid to reach out. To even family members or fellow workers or clergy, fear of being felt that you're crazy. And some people do go to a psychologist or psychiatrist, and they find out that they don't have a psychopathology. They're not crazy. So then what? What happens next? And so we realized that early on. I realized that early on that along with my co-founder, Dr. Eugene Lipson, who unfortunately passed away a number of years ago, that there needs to be some type of a support mechanism for people that are having these types of experiences. And as it turns out, the paranormal is a vast area. There's so many facets to it. You can talk about poltergeist activity. You can talk about Kundalini awakening. You can talk about spiritual awakening, and it's fascinating, and it's also very scary, certainly in the beginning stages of it, and so that's why as it turns out over the years, most of the people that have come to us, we're not that interested in poltergeist activity, although it seems to be a common factor as well with people that are having these types of experiences. But they seem to be coming to us with stories about contact with non-human intelligences, and that covers a broad range of these entities, and so it's interesting that you yourself have had an experience. And so I'm sure your listeners have heard your story, but if you could just give me a little bit of background, I'd be interested in understanding what happened to you.
Definitely. Well, I have always sort of, I suppose, been in contact with my higher self, but I didn't realize I didn't know that that's what it was. Much like probably many others, I just felt strange, like I didn't fit in, and I didn't have these sorts of conversations. And so I didn't know if what I was experiencing was normal, or whether it was, I suppose we get told in this society, if we don't fit in the box, then we are not normal and something's wrong. And then we're, guided back into that box by doctors and things like that. So I did go through the same sort of going to doctors, mental health, anxiety, just navigating all of these human elements that we've been led to believe exist, and ignoring the rest of them. But I suppose it just got to a point where you can't ignore that thing any longer. And I was showing a great interest in really just diving in to a lot of study and things like that, and really working on my own self. And my journey just kind of led to me opening up more and more about these things.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's difficult at best to navigate this process by yourself. And, and that's why we decided that one of the things, and I'm sure you saw that on our website, is the fact that we have a confidential online support group where we have almost 400 people from around the world, including some people from Australia, that are in the group, and they're talking 24/7 to one another about their experiences and asking questions. And then, of course, we do have a referral network of mental health practitioners who are familiar with the topic, and hypnotherapists. And we have some down in Australia as well. I'm sure you're familiar with Mary Rodwell.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And she focuses on children, which is an area that is very interesting to me, because most of the people that come to us start telling us stories about when they were a child that these things started to happen. Did these start to happen for you as a child as well?
Yeah, they did around the age of 5. And it's really interesting that you say that, because I did not know that she was focused on children. That's a huge passion of mine. And I see the same gap where it's like, why are we still waiting until they get to adulthood to unravel this? Why are we not going in? I've got a son who's 9 years old, and he's so open, and he understands all of these concepts, and he's meditating, and he's connected, and it's
oh my goodness.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and that seems to be happening all around the world right now, that these second generation, third generations that are coming along seem to be very perceptive and have these capabilities. Yeah, I was just talking to someone yesterday about that, and I was on Whitley. I don't know. Are you familiar with Whitley Strieber? That name, Whitley Strieber. He wrote the book Communion. Anyway, we were talking about all of this, and how he wished that there was a group when he was having his experiences that he could talk to, and bounce some of these ideas and thoughts and experiences off people, and so it's been very gratifying for us. We get some really positive feedback from people that have come into us and gotten the kind of help that they're looking for. So yeah, your son is the next generation. This is we're evolving. We're evolving.
Absolutely. And you must be seeing more and more people coming forward, and more and more people as well, like different abilities, I suppose, because we all obviously have different experiences uniquely to however we perceive them and whatnot. So you'd be seeing a lot of that as well.
Absolutely. We did a study back in 2009 called the Omega-3 study, where we took 71 people that told us that they had experience or contact with non-human intelligences, and 51 people as a control group. And what we found was that these people did not have a psychopathology. They were not crazy. They were not fantasy prone. They had childhood experiences that were traumatic. There was, incidents in the family that caused them to dissociate to a certain degree, not in a psychopathological way, but there was stressors in their lives. And after these situations, they came back with a totally different worldview with regard to we need to be better stewards of the planet. We need to be better to one another. We need to be more loving and things of that nature. And then we also found out that there was differences in their temporal lobe activity than the control group. And so this is something too that is being looked at very closely now by a number of people here at Stanford University in California. Gary Nolan is the gentleman's name, and they did some analysis, some MRI work on the brains of some of these people, and they found that there was more connections in the area of the caudate and putamen area in the brain. And these people also had psychic abilities and telepathic capabilities. And it goes on and on and on that, you mentioned, abilities. Well, some people have been abducted or had an experience and they came back as a healer. They had a healing capability which they never had before. Or they were healed with a disease or something. And Sally, it's absolutely mind-blowing. All the different aspects of this phenomena that we don't really understand. Is it extraterrestrial in nature? Is it interdimensional in nature? Is it time travelers? Is it our military, your military, or all the above, which I kind of think it is, and almost anything you can think of.
So, do you think that COVID, having everybody obviously like locked down and needing to probably internalize a little bit more, did you see the numbers rise during that time as well?
Well, that's an interesting question because I'm trying to think if we did have quite a few people. It's been kind of a constant flow. We get like 2 to 3 every couple of days. People showing up on our website looking for help. But I'd have to actually go back through my database to give you a better answer. But
it might be, yeah, because I know that during COVID, I only ask because the Law of One website apparently just shot up in views during that time period. So I'd just be interested to know. I think that it really pushed a lot of people to go inwards.
Well, being for me, that period of time, I wrote a book, okay? And it gave me the time to be able to do that. The name of the book is The Unknown Other and the Existential Proposition of Alien Contact, which is on Amazon. And all the proceeds of the book go directly to Amazon. I don't take anything for it. That's my contribution to the cause. But but now what's happening here in the United States anyway, with the whistleblower coming out and talking about the fact that we have crashed UFOs, we have aliens, it's a vindication of these people that have had experiences that this is real. This is absolutely real. We're not fantasizing about this. We're not making this up. And so I think this is going to give them the strength to come forward. And I'm expecting to see a flood of people. And we're trying to do is bring on as many therapists as possible, because I think we're going to need more and more therapists and other organizations. There's other organizations out there that are doing something similar. MUFON's A.R.T group, which I'm also a member of, that's their Experiencer Resource Team. And of course, we have now a third addition to our site, the E.S.T, our Experiencer Support Team, and to basically do triage with people when they come into us to find out how we can help them.
That's really interesting. I'd like to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, these people are very experienced working with the phenomena. Some of them are experiencers themselves. And so they've been down that road. And so when they're talking to these people that come to us with their stories, we can usually uh, dig in pretty quickly and find out, hey, do you need uh, a therapist? Do you need a hypnotherapist? Do you want to go into the support group? And uh, the support group, though, has been such a great vehicle because right away you know that you're not alone, and that's kind of how Opus got started. Backing up and giving you a little bit of background, um, when I was 11 years old, I saw this object when I was living in Connecticut, and it scared the hell out of me. And I ran into the house, and by the time I got my father to come out, it was gone. And he says, "Oh, it's probably just a beacon of light reflecting off a cloud." And I didn't believe that. And so I went to the library and started reading books on UFOs. And and then shortly thereafter, became a little bit older, and girls became a little bit more interesting other than UFOs, and kind of forgot about the whole thing. And I went off to college and went in the service, and then eventually got married. And in 1985, I moved out to Northern California, San Jose, and I picked up the San Jose Mercury News and saw that Stanton Freeman, a nuclear physicist, was going to be talking about UFOs and a government cover-up. Oh, that was like somebody threw a switch. It was like, oh my goodness, I got to go see this guy. So I did, and he gave a wonderful lecture. And on my way out, there was a table out there manned by a group from MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, which was founded in 1969. And so they have a monthly journal, and I started to get the journal. And after a while, that wasn't enough for me because I was reading all the stories that these investigators were working on, and I said I've got to get involved more deeply, and so I became a field investigator myself. And almost without exception, the cases that I got involved with were not only sightings, but people were telling me they had contact with non-human intelligences. And I was kind of a nuts and bolts kind of a guy in the beginning. And then as these people started telling me their stories and asking me, do I know of other people? And I said, yes, I do. So next thing I know, I'm facilitating a support group in my office in San Jose. And that's when I started to hear some incredible stories. Soon thereafter, I was written up in the Monterey Coast Weekly paper on what I was doing for MUFON. This reporter had contacted the MUFON headquarters, and they sent him to me. And so shortly thereafter, I got a call from a woman down in Carmel, California, saying, "I'd like to understand what's going on with my brain waves when I'm, in contact with these off-earthly entities." And I said to myself, "Well, I don't know how I can really help her." And then she said she was working with an emergency room doctor down in Carmel, and so that right away, uh, basically my friend, the Dr. Lipson, was also interested in meeting other doctors that were interested in the phenomena. So I called him up and I said, why don't we go down there and let's talk to her, and then you can meet this doctor. So we did. And as we walked into her house, there was this picture on the wall. And she's standing on the back of this vessel it looks like beautiful crystal blue water. And I said, is this in the Caribbean? She says, yes, it is. I said, what are you doing down there? And she says, well, I was helping these treasure hunters. I said, how did you do that? She says, well, I was in contact with the captain of the galleon that had gone down. What? And yeah. So that started the afternoon off, and she started to tell us things about ourselves that was impossible for her to know. And we found out that because of a near-death experience that she had, she became very psychic afterwards and started to have these connections and able to connect with these off-earthly entities. So we came away from that afternoon saying, how can we help people like this, And, and also talking about the support group that I had running. And so that's when Opus was hatched in like 1993. And then in 1994, we officially became a nonprofit 501c3 organization recognized by the U.S. IRS. The tax collectors. So anyway, that's the story in a nutshell of how it all went down. But you know,
I was watching who I consider some of the best channelers just to try to get an understanding of what I was connecting with, or what was happening. Um, so yeah, it made me feel crazy for quite some time.
oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a very scary thing, a stressful thing in the beginning, um, but it's a journey. It's a spiritual journey that you're on. You're not a religious journey. It's a spiritual journey. It's a raising of your vibration. It's a having a more universal understanding of how things work, and the, and still we don't know, we don't have all the answers, if even if we have some. it'd be
Yes,
it,
that keeps me humble regularly, knowing that I feel like I know so much and I know nothing.
yes, that's well put.
Wow.
Absolutely.
So just before we jumped on, before I was watching Geraldine. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I was watching her interview, and some of what she said really resonated with me because I've also had that same experience, I suppose, where my psychic activation came in very strongly straight after an experience with an
Yeah.
extra dimensional. Uh,
Yes.
so I've also had that same experience having extra dimensional children, and, you know, not understanding that to begin with really sent me on a course of looking for
Yeah.
answers in the physical. So, because of all the,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any missing fetuses or anything like that going on, or was this more
Um, I would say like almost phantom pregnancies type of thing, and a lot of like PCOS
mhm,
related type problems. For anyone that doesn't know that, it's polycystic ovarian
mhm.
syndrome. So um, a lot of strange things like that, you know.
Yeah. Very, yeah. And Geraldine, by the way, Orozco is one of our board members. I don't know if you picked that
Yes.
up.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sorry, go.
our technology here now, we're able to, you and I talk over Zoom here, and you're in Australia and I'm here in Texas, and or in the United States. It's too bad we can't get together physically, you know, and give each other big hugs. And
Yes.
it's sad in that way, but it's probably coming. We'll do this holographically or something
You know,
eventually.
I see the world moving forward into something completely different. I don't see in, 10, 15, 20 years time us having these border restrictions and things like that, these countries that are all segregated and separate. I
Mhm.
think we are moving into a much more unified reality. And I plan on coming to the US too quite soon.
Oh, good. Absolutely. You got to do it. You
Yeah.
come to one of these big conferences.
Oh,
That's the contact in the desert just happened here at the beginning of June, and that was quite an event. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make that one, but there's a lot of good ones. UFO Congress is another one that's a good one too in Phoenix.
and how have your own experiences progressed over time? Obviously, beginning with a more physical sighting.
Hmm. Well, this is another interesting fact because one day in the support group meeting, a person said to me, "I've seen you before." I said, "Really? Where? At a UFO conference?" She says, "No, no, I saw you on board the craft." I said, "Really? Okay." So I kind of blew it off, and I didn't think much about it. Um, and then it was like a year and a half later that a totally different person said the same thing. "I've seen you before," and I said the same thing. You're like a UFO? No, no, no. You were sitting on this bench naked on board the craft and you were freaking out, and they told me to go over to you to calm you down. Well, at that point, I decided to go get regressed. And I had three separate regressions, and I found out a lot about my past lives. I had many past lives, and but nothing along the lines of being on board a craft or being involved with any non-human intelligence. And then it might have been another year later or something. Somebody said to me, says, "Well, because the story came up, and they said, well, perhaps this person that saw you was in a past life, and that fact didn't come out. And so these things get convoluted and so intricate that you don't know up from down or down from up."
I think that's one of the reasons probably that I struggle to maybe verbalize some of my experiences, because they are just
it's hard.
Yeah. It's just, and like I did a video not long ago about an insight that I'd had, but this insight took, 25 to 30 years to develop, and it's probably still developing infinitely. So it's like what we think we know right now is always going to develop and change and expand.
Absolutely. It's a journey. It's a journey, and when this physical body expires, doesn't mean that energy, your soul, dies. It goes on. It goes on, and then it gets reincarnated. This is something that many of the experiencers have come back with after talking with these intelligences, that reincarnation is a part of the universe. This is how the universe operates. So, again, do I understand that? Heck no, I don't understand it, but this is what they're talking about. Very interesting.
Yeah, I receive a lot of visuals, and so a lot of the time they're like metaphor type visuals, and I see that a lot. I suppose the above, so below structure that just continually filters and recycles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, this is something that we talk about consciousness, and what is consciousness? It's something that people have a hard time trying to pinpoint or to define it, and so. But I think consciousness is really this energy that does never dissipates. It's always there, and so that's part of the consciousness. And whether or not you have microtubules in your brain, and connections between the caudate and putamen that are more in these people that have psychic abilities. I mean, it just gets so interesting and so convoluted that trying to definitively say, well, it's XYZ, I don't think so. I think we'd have a hard time doing anything like that.
Yeah. And, like I've studied some of the mapping systems, Tree of Life, Astrology, Tarot, a few others, and they all, once you kind of really dig into these things, you understand that you're just dealing with the same recycled energies, but every single time it's new in the now, and it's just beautiful to watch, I suppose. Like there is infinite ways that we can express ourselves and connect and make sense of that as well, because I suppose that it's us that really makes sense of it all in the end.
Yeah, and one of the theories that I've recently started to espouse is the fact that I think we've all had an experience, whether we consciously recollect it or not. And I remember when I was little that I was deathly afraid. I would wedge myself between a wall and the bed to go to sleep at night. And why was I doing that? I think something was going on, and so to this day I have no idea what the hell went on. But the opposite side of the coin, I was not afraid to go out at night, and run around the neighborhood or something, you know. So it just there's always a contradiction in
I feel like for me, it was like, even now, being here doesn't truly feel like home. And I don't think I have ever been able to shake that my whole life. It just, yeah, it just feels, it feels odd here. It feels heavy. It's dense. It's
yeah.
hard to understand, and it's hard to um, navigate the human emotional operating system. It's just, I feel it. It's very
I know,
predominant.
I know what you do at night. You go outside in the backyard and you look up in the stars and you say, "Take me home."
Most nights.
Like,
In
take me away
fact,
from this.
I don't think I've said this yet, but in fact, it's about a year, 6 months to a year before the Australian media. So I think it was around the time of the bushfires, a few years ago, and the Australian media put out an announcement, um, a little bit more confirmation on, I think it was when some of the Pentagon stuff got released. And just prior to that, I remember so vividly staring up at the sky, and I just prayed and prayed and prayed for like, half an hour, that in my lifetime, please let disclosure happen. Please make it happen. Make it happen.
Yeah.
We're ready for it. Bring it on.
So and yes, absolutely, I agree with you 100%. And I interviewed a retired CIA man, John Ramirez, and his interview is on our website. And he basically said that there is going to be a major revelation that's going to be earth-shattering, so to speak, from people that have stars on their shoulders. Okay, these are military people, generals, okay, usually admirals with stars and things on their shoulders. And this is supposed to happen. When I interviewed him, he said sometime between Labor Day, our Labor Day, which is the beginning of September, and our Thanksgiving, which is like the end of November. And then I talked to him last week, and he says, "I don't think so. I think it's probably going to be October now." And I think with all these revelations that are coming out here in the United States, I think it's going to happen sooner than that. So, you're going to get your wish. You're going to get your wish.
It's hard, for the star seeds. We feel so different, so
Sure.
misunderstood.
Yes, that is true, and that could be a major problem, especially with all this information coming out now. Because, matter of fact, we're already starting to talk about legal issues with regard to this whole phenomena, because we want to protect the rights of experiencers, star seeds, and so we're starting to put together a cohort of people, lawyers that are familiar with the topic, and hopefully, we're going to be able to come up with some kind of protocol with regard to this. Because here, Daniel Sheehan is one of the predominant lawyers that have been helping, like Lou Elizondo, and recently this whistleblower, Goresh, and because they're getting all kinds of flack, from their employers, and we have to be able to stop that kind of thing. And then, unfortunately, our society is shoot first and ask questions later. And yeah, matter of fact, in my town over here, we've just had a mass shooting. 9 people got killed at a shopping mall. I mean, it's crazy. There's a lot of
I
crazy
think,
stuff.
well, I'm one of my favorite cards in the tarot is the Tower card, because what I really understand with that energy is that for everything to be, for these new structures to be built, we really need to tear down those old structures to the core. Nothing can be left. And so that process really needs to be like, there's going to be a big overhaul. And I suppose it is going to rustle up anything that's just kind of stagnant. So we are going to see a lot of people having experiences, but we're also probably going to be seeing a lot of people that are having experiences that don't realize they are and really struggling and being thrown in the, you're crazy pile and disregarded.
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of these people still don't know where to turn, and they can't talk to family members, as I mentioned earlier, or fellow workers for sure, or clergy, if they're religious in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, it's tragic that they are suffering with this. And luckily, once they get the kind of help, 80% of the people have a positive outlook on what's transpired in their lives. And when it stops, it's almost like the Stockholm syndrome, where they say, well, why is it stopping? Why aren't they coming for me anymore? And so there's just, like 20 to 25% of the people that are still having really bad situations going on.
Yeah. And I suppose some of that fear could be, it could be there for a whole range of reasons. They're scared to lean into it, or like you said, they don't have the support there.
Well, the other thing too is we have good people and we have bad people here on this plane, okay, on our Earth. I think the same thing is going on up there, if there is an up there. We've got some good entities and we have some bad ones. I mean, there's been many cases of demons and things like that interacting with people, which is very scary, very scary. And so we try to help these people as well. Whether or not it's referring them to an exorcist, if it's more of a religious type of a situation, or poltergeist activity. We have an organization that we refer people to, and that Kundalini awakening, spiritual awakening. There's other groups that do those kind of things, and as it turns out, we've been mostly focused on people that have had contact with non-human intelligences. And whether they're reptilian or mantid types or Nordic types or grays or short grays, tall grays. And there's a lot more different types.
What I love about that as well is that the more, because we are all one, we're all one collective, and the more people that raise their vibration and open up to these things, we're really giving that to the collective, and everybody's able to access that information and those connections.
Absolutely.
How can people contact you and your website and the OPUS network? So how can everybody contact you and look into the network?
Right. Yeah, the easiest way to get a hold of us is go to our website, which is opusnetwork.org. That's Opus Network is one word, and then .org. And there you can find various things. We have articles, we have documents that you can peruse. We have recommendations on books. We have a whole bunch of other authors that you can go to. And actually, we have an affiliation with with Amazon, whereby if you get one of the books from off of our site, we get a percentage of that, which helps us continue to do what we're doing. And of course, we have a donation button on our website as well. If you are so of mind to do that for us, that would be great. We're a nonprofit, so it is here in the United States anyway. It's tax deductible. And my book, The Unknown Other and the Existential Proposition of Alien Contact, is on our site, but it's also on Amazon. And so, again, the proceeds of that book go directly to OPUS. that's my contribution to the cause. And once again, we have 3 ways that we basically help people. One is we have a confidential online support group that people can access, and people are utilizing it 24/7, telling their stories, asking questions. And then we also have a referral network of mental health practitioners, hypnotherapists, psychotherapists, people of that nature, which we are always looking for more licensed therapists and certified hypnotherapists. And we have a triage group, which we call our E.S.T, our Experiencer Support Team, that basically will talk to the people that come into our site looking for assistance and determine what it is that they're really looking for and how best to help them. And they will be able to give them names of therapists if they're looking for that kind of thing, or hypnotherapists. So we try to help these people, as in as many ways as possible. And we appreciate them coming to us, and we try to get back to everybody within 72 hours. So we won't leave you hanging, so to speak.
That sounds amazing. Thank you. And I know that there's a lot of souls that are in need at this time and that are reaching out. And yeah, thank you for all the wonderful work that you guys do over there.
Well, thank you very much, Sally. And again, I very much appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast here tonight. And of course, it's morning where you are, and night where I am. But no, it's a wonderful thing that you're doing, and people like yourself that are bringing these kind of topics to the public. So thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you. Thanks, Les.
All righty.